Hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in and sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos, welcome, and welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness and the highest levels of love light. I just want to go into a little June energy flow, and we'll see how this goes. I don't usually just ask specifically in these videos. I just kind of let things kind of flow in, and but I like to maybe focus right now on the month of June and kind of share from my higher guidance team perspective what that might look like as far as the energies, um, alignments, whatever it might be. So we'll see what comes through. And so as we look forward to this month, we invite you to look forward to this month. We invite you to step out of the idea that I'm hearing dread, letting go of the dreadlocks, one might say, letting go of locking into something or an idea that is specific to a perceived outcome that has yet to be received. And let us play with this for a moment. For our perception, what it is that we are thinking ahead about, directly reflects back to us more of that. And many of us have heard of this before in the sense of the law of attraction. Yet we would just venture to say there is much that is out there in the ethers, in the television waves, in the waves that are interacting with the human experience that have been, let us say, programmed to keep us locked in, back to the dreadlocks, the dread programming. Now, while this message may not be applicable to everyone tuning into this now, we invite you to see that there are many who will feel a sense of dread at times at what the future looks like, at what the future may hold. And yet we invite you to see now for the future that each of you holds a certain frequency, and that frequency that you hold and reflect out, I'm seeing project out and then it reflects back, that projects out and then is reflected back to you, holds a vibration, a match, a frequency, a sound, a light, a geometry, a harmonic, a feeling. All of it is connected and all of it is associated with how it is that we are co-creating together in the coming months, days, hours, years, whatever label or definition we may define time as. And we would invite you now in this now moment to enjoy your time. For your time on earth is fleeting, and we share this as a play on words. For what it is that we see in front of us is actually already here. And so this is a difficult concept to convey, and we will not go into this entirely in this particular video or particular transmission. And we wish instead to invite you to step back into this transition and allow yourself to flow freely and let go of the ideas that something may be amiss, that something may be missed, that something may be coming our way that is anything but happy. Now, let us break this down a little bit. For the word play is part of this transmission. And the way that we play with words creates a communication, and this type of communication is a frequency. So we are sharing words in a playful way, and whoever is tuning into this video will receive them in their own way. And that is the way of it. For we do not wish to convey information in a linear transaction. We do not wish to convey information in a specifically linear way, for we wish to convey the multidimensionality in how it is that we play with language. So let us go back to the message at hand. We are not saying that you must focus only on the happiness at all times. And we are not saying that there is nothing that is lining up in the future that may bring us a sense of dismay or a sense of frustration or any of the other human terms that are used for our emotions and feelings. What instead, in a very simplistic and linear way that we are saying or trying to say, is that we are being invited to step aside, to step away from the particular sides that we have been directed towards believing in, the particular sides that we have been directed towards choosing. For the only choice that we are suggesting that you make in this now moment is how you choose to feel, how you choose to respond to what it is that you are feeling. And how you choose to respond to this feeling. And while some may say, well, I don't have a choice about how I feel, it just is the way that I feel. That is true in some respects. So let us hone in on choosing how to respond to the way that we feel. Some feelings can be misinterpreted. And so those feelings, though, are not meant to be let go of and canceled as unimportant. Yet there are certain feelings that people are honing in on, making it of a great importance, and that creates an imbalance. For example, so I'm on two different topics right now, guys. The feelings and then the response to those feelings. So the way in which we respond to our feelings is a topic we will go over next. For right now, we wish to address the feelings themselves. All feelings are, I'm seeing a thermometer and a gauge. They give us an idea about what we are focusing on, what it is that we may be tapping into, what it is that we may be interpreting, and what it is that makes us tick from one perspective. We invite you to recognize that there are certain things that set us off. And let us play with that for a moment. Set us off. A set is, I'm seeing a musical set. I'm seeing like it's set in stone. I'm seeing a set on a film or on a movie. And then I'm hearing off. So all of those things essentially get thrown off sometimes based on what we're feeling. Yet at the same time, that feeling is associated with all of those definitions. Oh boy. We realize this is a little confusing, and so are feelings. Feelings can be or feel confusing. And so this is why many of the messages have been about us being present with what it is that we are feeling. Then we are able to integrate those feelings in a much more receptive and balanced way, rather than habitually displaying or habitually responding to the same feeling triggers over and over again. Therefore, we will no longer be triggered, or certain feelings will no longer be activated as frequently when we do not tune into the frequency that is seeking to pull us or set us off, pull us off our set, or to change the set of the stage that it is that we wish to participate in. And there's so many different channels that we could go into with this language play. For the variation in the words that we are using allows us to access many different functions of these language sets. Let us go back into, though, the idea of how it is that we respond to these feelings and these certain responses that we are elicited from some of the movies that we are tuning into. We look forward to the month of June, and as we do this, we do not necessarily assume that certain things are going to happen. So this is a play on words, and I'm being called to stop and play with this for a moment. So essentially what I'm being shown is to break this down a little bit temporarily. We're being called to look forward to our future for the month of June. Some people are looking forward, they're looking ahead with dread, because they are in a habitual pattern of tuning into that particular frequency, emotion, etc. And it may be in part because of something they've got going on in their lives. Maybe there's something coming up that they're not looking forward to. But I'm being shown this has more to do with what we're tuning into. The news, the newspaper, certain stages of our reality that are set up in order to set us up. So what I'm hearing is, let's set ourselves up for success. So looking forward without looking to the future all the time. So it's all a balance. So we can't always be looking ahead, And we can't always be acting like we want to co-create this. What I'm being shown is looking ahead and looking forward is directly related to how we tune into the now moment. So if we're feeling dread, we're being called to stop and stop looking forward and hone in on why we are focusing on that. Why is it that we're feeling that? And then start to shift that once we understand what is triggering it. And this is just one layer of this. Once we identify the trigger, we are no longer identified with that which it is that triggers us, because many people are looking into the entire game and it's overwhelming for them right now. They don't understand how is it that we're going to have a positive future when all of the chaos is around us right now. And so we invite you to look forward in the sense of staying as highly vibrational as possible while maintaining a sense of I'm being shown basically balance. We might feel one way, but notice when we're feeling it so that we don't produce that for the future, so that we don't continually follow that path, if that makes sense. Let us move back a little bit and just look at the month of June. For the month of June has already occurred from a non-time stamp, from a different perspective. Yet within this beautiful month of summer solstice highlights, we invite you to look forward to the highlights that you would like to co-create. So this is a play on words, for we are inviting you to co-create your future without being stuck in the future, without focusing only on the future, by focusing in the now. And that is where many people struggle, because we are used to habitually programming our thought patterns to think about what is happening in the future. Whew, lots of like layers here with this wordplay. As we co-create in the now, we co-create the future together, and the future timelines then are more obvious and more apparent. And we then begin to pull towards us what it is that we are feeling in the now moment. We may be feeling a sense of urgency. We may be feeling a sense of frustration, and yet we do not have to continually feel that frustration, urgency, and dread that locks us into, I'm seeing that, you know, when you're in like a space movie and they're like hyperspeed and you get locked into hyperspeed and then you're on that track to that particular planetary system. It's like, rather than just assuming, not consciously recognizing that that's what's happening. I'm hearing tractor beam from Dumb and Dumber. Getting out of that habit pattern can help shift the frequency in the now, recognizing when we're in and we're being pulled towards that particular reality, we're being pulled towards that particular timeline. And so this message that we've shared thus far is really related to all time. It isn't just related to the month of June. However, in this particular month, we are co-creating in a heightened state of activity, meaning we have a heightened activity from our environment, and we do not mean necessarily the materialistic environment that's being created through the social structure. We mean more of the energetic planetary structure. We are experiencing a heightened sense of urgency pouring up through the planet, and let us play with that for a moment. Just saw all kinds of stuff. So let me see if I can play with this for a moment. I'm being called to pause. Okay, so I paused this just for a second, and then I went and looked up urgency, the etymology of it. And it's so funny because what I'm being shown is this urgency. Let's just kind of go into that. So urgency is pressing, impelling, right? It's a sense of urgency that I'm being shown. So it feels like that's all around us actually right now. We might feel this pressing, it's important, right? And And then I thought, well, what is impelling? But the other words that they use in alignment with this are principal spring of a mechanism, mainspring, impelling cause or motive of any action. So what I was being shown is spring, and then I'm being shown summer. I was being shown a portal as I was saying all those words that were coming through. And then I was also saying, so we're going to keep going. So the importance of this is so much fun for me. Urgent, mainspring, motive, momentum, projectile. So I'm being shown a couple of things. Everything is heightened right now from one perspective. We are being propelled forward. So we have this sense of urgency, a lot of us, like, I don't know what it is, but I feel like something, and some people are, okay, so some people are tuning into things that are dreadful. I'm gonna kind of play with that word a little bit too. They're tuning into the news, the newspapers, stories that people are telling them, or it's been a habit that they've been tuned into that for a really long time. The other is that some people are just feeling a sense of dread. Not everybody, not every day, but they're feeling like, ooh, I feel like something's going to happen. And in reality, that sense of dread is being misinterpreted. It's a push that many of us are feeling, and it can be interpreted as dread, like, ooh. And there's a lot of reasons around this. That's not necessarily relevant for this particular transmission. And what I'm being shown is that this, back to the wording, and I could just play with this. So we have this pressing and impelling, but what's happening is everything is working around us to help move us. What I'm hearing is to a new station. And that's all the plan words too. A new station, a new place, a new period of time, a new station as in a new radio station, a new television station, and also like a placement in life, like a new role in some cases, not all cases. And what happens is we feel this, and it creates sometimes more dread because it brings up, what I'm just kind of going into flow about this. What I'm hearing is it brings up our insecurities. Sometimes we feel like I'm not prepared for this, or on the other sense is like, when is this going to happen? It can be an urgency in many different ways. Some people are going to respond to it. And again, it comes back to, so I'm going to read all this. Having control of motion, causing motion, having the power to move someone or something is motive. So what I'm hearing is motivate. What is motivating us through the month of June? So fun. What is it that is our principal spring of mechanism, our wellspring? And I talk about wellspring, which I've never looked it up. I didn't realize it was actually a word. I thought it was like two words combined together. But I'm hearing be well, be still and know, be well, that all is well. And the well is this, the well of life, like the cup that runneth over. And so we have a lot of things that are held within this well. And some of those wells, like, you pull water up from, you pull it up and you're like, oh, I got to get rid of this. I got to get rid of that. I have to drink this. I have to fill with this. I have to, use this. But I'm hearing don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So this is, so the question is, so let me go to the outside source for a moment. What is the motive behind what is being the agenda that is being presented to us as we go through this period of time for the month of June? Okay, what is the motive? And so when we look at that, we're being called to ask, what is our motive? What is it that motivates us? There's a sense of urgency out there, and the motivations that are out there on this particular stage that we've been tuned into for far too long from one perspective, there's a motivation there. There's a principal spring of a mechanism. There's an impelling cause of the action, right? There's an urgency that's being pushed upon us. This is happening. You have to do this. You have to tune into that. You have to believe this, all of these sense outside of us. This creates a momentum or a movement, and then it pushes us or throws us into a particular state that then triggers, I don't remember the words I used earlier, but triggers emotions, right? And energy in motion. I always think of emotion as energy in motion. So those emotions come up from our wellspring, they spring up, and then we interpret them and we utilize those for momentum or to push us in a particular, to propagate us in a particular direction. So if we just take a moment and really tune into that, I'm also seeing the projectile, like we're being shot into this other realm. But it's showing it goes back to impulse. It's being caused by an impulse. And this leads me back to interpreting, we're getting pulses from the sun. We're getting energy coming up from the earth. We're getting extra help from all of the planetary conjunctions and alignments that we've had. And I won't go into that, but if you look at a crystal lattice work, which I always like to refer to, everything lines up like a clock from one perspective. And it doesn't necessarily have to do anything with time, but in this version of our reality, it does. So for the month of June, all of these things, we're getting these pulses, we're getting these astrological alignments. We have the summer solstice. Is it summer solstice or equinox? I always get confused on that. But for this particular, what is it that is pushing us? What is it that we're motivated by? What is our personal motive? And sometimes when we analyze all of this, it takes us out of and recognizing that some of the dread that we're feeling is being projectile onto us, or it's again being misinterpreted, and really we're just feeling a lot right now. Now, on the flip side, there's a lot of people that are listening that are like, I feel great. I don't feel any of this. And so I'm going to take all those words and say, great. And by the way, no judgment on either one that we're feeling. And what I'm hearing is this can oscillate. So we're really being called to step out of judgment about where we're at, and always to take a look back at, where is this coming from? What is our, we might be called to step up and start a new business, or volunteer at a new organization, or, and you know, some of us are feeling that call and we have this sense of urgency, but we really want to stop and feel present with what it is that's motivating us. And is it coming from our true wellspring of our true source? And that is, and then what I'm being shown is utilizing that to spring us into action. Then we take action from this place of knowing what our motivation really is, where it's really coming from. This provides us with the, what I'm hearing is a higher rate of production. It provides us with more momentum. So some of us are gaining momentum in one direction because we're being pulled in that direction, because we're not recognizing where that motivation and spring is coming from. Others are going, oh, okay, now I feel this emotion of, I recognize where this is coming from. I'm going to take this moment to shift that, integrate it, whatever it might be. And in doing this, both of those examples are creating a future. And it's ironic because this leads me to mainspring, which is principal spring of mechanism, which is a watch, a clock, a gun, all of those things. Use that mechanism to shoot us through the next stage of development. What else? I really like the momentum here, because the other message that's coming through is we're gaining a lot of momentum. This is part of that sense of urgency. And for some people that don't like change, that can also be where that dread is coming from. We're feeling this sense of, oh, I don't know if I like where this is going. But we're being called to ask, where's that really coming from? Is it because we don't like change? Is it because we're fearful of what the future might hold? Is it because we're afraid of stepping into our true power, right? All of these things are being called up, pulling them up from the well. I just keep being shown that bucket coming up and until we get to the actual spring. There might be a lot of stuff that's in the way, and that's part of what I'm seeing outside of us. That's the stuff that's trying to block us from our true wellspring, and it's trying to propagate us into another motivation, right? The motivation and sense of urgency that keeps us distracted. that keeps us overstimulated by things that create an emotional response, and it keeps us away from our true momentum. It's if that makes sense. And I'm seeing projection, projectile. And I really love the fact that it says here, so it's the product of the mass and velocity of a body, momentum, quantity of motion of a moving body, movement, moving power. And I love the end of it is force gained by movement, an impulse or impelling force. So it leads me back to impelling. We're feeling the sense of urgency, impelling force almost. So this leads me back to feel what we're experience what we're feeling, feel the experience. And then in doing that, it stabilizes our emotions in such a way that we can get grounded. And by doing this, it allows us to spring forward into action and gain the appropriate momentum that causes our own ability to feel empowered rather than feeling completely lost in what the future might hold, the ideas and the thinking about that. So get out of our heads, get into our heart, get into our body, all of the same stuff that applies to every month. But there's something about the month of June that feels more forceful in a very positive way, unless it's being interpreted as a negative thing. And if it is being interpreted that way, why? Right? Where is that coming from? So those are the questions we're being invited to ask ourselves in this particular month, and really all months. Let me see if I missed anything. What I'm seeing is capable of being thrust forward. So it's our ability to respond that allows us to then move and take action towards the future. And that gives us something to look forward to. But we're not stuck there. We're not stuck in the past. We're creating from this now moment. And I'm hearing the now movement, the movement of now. Okay, so let me just go back into this. And as we let go of these judgments centered around what we're seeing unfold around us, and we let go of the idea that we must judge every piece or scenario of the story that's being presented to us, we begin to feel more centered in ourselves and who it is that we really are, and perhaps from one perspective, what it is that we came here to do. And yet let's break that down. We came here to do is a sense of the past tense. And to do is the sense of the future. Kind of funny, right? So we did come here, we were born, and we are to do. And so many people, though, are making much ado about nothing, no thing. We are being called to regroup, recenter, stabilize our emotions. And this sets a pace, a forward thrust, one might say, that jets us in the right direction. And the right direction is different for everyone. Yet we might say a forward flowing motion of fluidity and freedom from one perspective, less friction, therefore, for this particular month, for those will be felt, for those who are able to feel and integrate their emotions, thoughts, feelings, and all of it in a much more adaptable pattern. Those that are struggling with letting go are the ones that will continue to struggle. For the struggle then becomes real for them because it is a real experience that they are thinking that they are having, and it elicits more emotions that continue to, again, propel or project or direct or motivate or move someone in that continued direction. We are bringing awareness in this now moment also to the sun. And we bring this awareness up again and again, for it has begun. And this is something to keep in mind. The forward motion has already begun, and we are working in unison with the sun, for the sun is our star system. We are dependent solely, play on words, solar, soul, solely, lee, the leeway, ley lines, on our energy from our star. Yet there are other ways to gather our resources, and these ways will be showing themselves in the near future. For many of you are creating that near future now, and many of you are accessing different aspects of yourself that are deeply connected to the power of the sun. And we are not referring necessarily to solar energy. We are referring to other potential creations that are connected to water, that are connected to the solar alignments with water. And we come into this just for a moment, for there are those of you who have already discovered this. This discovery has already been made and has already been displayed. I'm seeing like it's already been presented, it's already in the works, and yet there is some lag time between that future and this future and the potential that it holds. So patience is another chapter to this particular story, which is challenging in unison with urgency and being patient at the same time. For we are receiving this push while simultaneously being asked to be patient. And so we would also like to add, though, that some of the creations are being created much faster, at a faster pace than would have been allowed in the past. And this is for many different reasons. Yet we're moving past this particular message because we want to hone back in on the solar acclamations that are happening on our planet. Many of us are making certain changes cellularly in our body in order to accommodate the shifts that the sun is actually lending us. And we say the word lend is not in borrow. However, it is gifting us or lending us this frequency. And we use this word for all that is lent is also received back. We have a direct connection with our star and other stars. And as much as we receive, we send back into our environment. So the more that we are able to store this energy, I'm being shown, get on the sand, get grounded, visualize the sun not only coming from above, but coming up from the center of the earth. For this, the earth absorbs these nutrients, and we absorb these nutrients through our skin, through our cells, and this is all felt as a vibration. There is a certain sense of translucency that is happening right now, where, as some call it, the veil has thinned. We are able to see through certain things that were very dense before. And this is in part because of our relationship with the earth, our relationship with where we are located, and our relationship with each other, and everything is connected, right? So we invite everyone to recognize that the gifts that we are receiving from the sun are not something to dread. They are not something to be afraid of. Fear may be felt at times, and we call this message back to the original wordplay about dreadlock. Many people are locked into a habitual fear programming, and this may be because of the programming they're tuning into, but it is also directly connected to the programming that is held within the cellular body and the cell system. And so as the system is going through upgrades, as we might call it, it is also interacting with everything else that is also going through upgrades. This can sometimes create the sense of feeling unstable because we are harnessing energy in a different way that can sometimes bring up these fear-based patterns so that they can be recognized, reorganized, integrated, and then utilized in a different composition. And I'm seeing compost composition. A composition is a writing, a network, composing, a composure. All of it is connected. For this composition that makes up the human body, that makes up the human collective, I'm just seeing particles and waves going into everything. Like, it's all being absorbed. So recognize it and step away from being afraid of it, or step into that and compost that, integrate it. Why am I afraid? What am I afraid of? This has to do sometimes with past, what we perceive as past lives, and perhaps catastrophes associated with particular events that may have occurred in our lifetime. And so this is a play on words as well, and this is the idea that our past lifetime is connected to our cellular memory, which is in this lifetime now. So many of us, this is coming up from our wellspring, if you will, to be also integrated in this lifetime. And so we invite everybody to let go of the need to categorize events, traumas, or better spoken, feelings, emotions, and memories that have been stored within the body as negative or as happening a long time ago. Because when a cellular memory is brought up, it does not recognize or know the difference between the past and the present. For within the cellular matrix that the body is encapsulated within is a directional system that sees in all directions. Therefore, there is no linear compartmentalization or packaging in some regards. That linearization is really, from one perspective, only because of the human perspective. And this is something to feel into and to recognize, to take us away from the fear programming of future catastrophes, past catastrophes, and so on. So the more positive energy that we feel associated with the sun, the more the sun actually feeds off of our positive energy in a symbiotic exchange of information. This is much more layered and in depth than perhaps is something we would go into in this transmission. Yet we invite you just to feel into that for a moment. As abstract as it may seem or sound, we are here to share that from a higher perspective, we as a collective of energy and frequency beings who are in this now moment, from one perspective, recognize that everything has a value exchange, and what the sun gives us, we give back to it in its own relationship. So in the month of June, there may be increased solar activity, and this will continue throughout your year. Your body is responding to this. And as we mentioned earlier, the body responds, and fear programs are sometimes activated so that they can be integrated. So this is where we invite you to step away from reacting, and what we said in the beginning of this message, our ability to respond. And ironically, our ability to respond is directly related to our relationship and connection to the earth. The more we connect with the earth, the easier it is for us to balance and harmonize with these excitational energies, for they will stir up feelings at times of anxiousness, excitation, highs and lows that are really sounds and light codes that we can then learn to interpret and harmonize with. The easier we allow ourselves to let go of needing to know the outcome or the reason why. And this is having to do with the human wanting to overanalyze everything and overthink. And while this is a beautiful gift, it is equally beautiful and to feel and allow through the letting go and integration process, which you might refer to as trust. I could keep going. I don't know how long I've been going, but I'm going to see if we can just end on this note. June holds many gifts, and so the more balanced you are, the easier it is to receive them, or also better spoken, the easier it is to see and witness that we are receiving them, which takes us away from the dread programming. I'm hearing Judge Dredd. I don't remember that movie, but I think it was some like Sylvester Stallone movie. But I'm hearing like judgment and dread, right? All of these things are old programs that are embedded within our cellular memories, and something about the sun that's coming in, the photonic, I'm seeing photonic, platonic solids that are really just waves and sounds are helping to create space in order for those to leave, those energies to leave. And I'm just kind of tuning into what else. While we share these energies for the month of June, because we know that the human likes to have a linear idea, and we would also venture to say that the energies are ongoing. We're setting, this message is setting you up for the future. So as you set yourself up for the future, the more balanced we are, the easier it is to set ourselves up. This has to do with what I wrote earlier about set us off, but I'm hearing instead set, match, love. So we match up with the frequency of love. We match up with that which it is. We are feeling, I'm just seeing us slingshotting. I'm basically seeing that it can be for some people a massive growth period for the month of June. I'm hearing fertile ground. And I'm seeing many resources coming in to help us. And this can be from even technology. I'm seeing some technological advances are going to be happening a lot faster over the coming months. So we come back to the word play that was used earlier, and we invite you to come back to motivate. We are being invited to ask ourselves in the month of June, what is motivating us, and what excites us truly in the heart region? What is it that compels us to make the jumps and feel into where the sense of urgency is coming from and sit with it for a bit? For we are also entering a great stage of self-reflection. So as we reflect inward, we are then able to create onward and upward. And this creates more accessibility, more mobility or ease of movement. And it allows us to flow freely with the chain of DNA activating enhancements that are potentially being felt within the human experience, or I'm seeing the skin, the body, all of it. This is an exciting period of time from many different perspectives and in many different regions, one might say, of the collective. This has to do, when we say region, of place on Earth, place in space, regions in the dimensions or planetary sound lodges. It has to do with the regions of the brain and certain regions in the body that will feel more accessible as the month progresses than perhaps was able to be felt a month ago. And so what I'm hearing is go, go, go. There's that sense of urgency again. So allowing ourselves to move through this month with as much grace as possible gives us the gift to see the future because we are feeling into the now. And so we end on this note and remind everyone that co-creative collaboration and creative abundance are also flowing in. For many people are recognizing that what they are motivated by are helping others, or what they are motivated by, what makes them feel good, is helping others feel good as well. And we must feel good in order to feel into the fullest potential of that feeling. For example, if we are completely burnt at both ends, we will not notice when we are really turned on. And this is the play on words, like a light bulb being turned on. We will not notice that the light bulb is already on, and we will instead be distracted by many of the other worldly compounds that are being lit up, highlighted. For remember, as within, so without. So what we witness happening in the compounded network of our supposed reality, we begin to see the crumbling, and it can also create a sense of insecurity. And so we have to go back within in order to stabilize our own foundation, in order to access our own light bulb, our own light, to light up our own ideas, so that we do not get pulled into the old ideology that is in the process of deconstructing. So as we feel what excites us, this allows us to let go of that which does not truly excite us from the ground up. It has merely been creating a feeling. This goes back to the emotion, feelings and emotions of excitation. However, it isn't, that feeling was stimulated by a false resource, we might call it. And again, this is not meant to be judged. It is merely meant to be recognized. And when we can recognize what is unfolding, what we are feeling in all of it with a space of non-judgment, we're, and I'm being shown, even if we do judge it, recognize that we're judging it, it allows us, once again, to stabilize our frequency. And so we are hinting in this message that there may be quite a bit of stimulation for the month of, I'm hearing, summer. So it is important to care for one another in the sense of care and consideration. For in this passage through time, it is a time to celebrate one another, the human collective, the human connective. I'm also being guided to go into the human connective tissue, the human body, support the body and support the human body, like a school body, like our body of humans, and move in this, I'm hearing compassion, compression, as we're being compressed and pressed into this new conjunction point. So hopefully that was fun or helpful in some ways. And there was a lot of layers in there. So I was doing my best to keep myself on track. I did it a little different than I'm used to doing it. So in love and light, guys, in a nutshell, have fun co-creating for the month of June. I think it's relevant for just in life in general, but I think there'll be more messages that come through. I'll try to share those weekly, or maybe at the end of the week in review. We'll see, we'll play with that. In love and light, guys, namaste.